went ahead and played in the actual finals. I mean, so this is a kind of cool. This is why it's like the big show. Here's a brief taste. I'm gonna let you all do an actual question from an actual qualification round at Defcon. Who's seen the movie Hackers? So on 3. 1, 2, 3. Planets. That was not a lot of gusto, but Gibson, yes, also would have been accepted. Except for the next year, the question was this. So they really mixed it up on me. This was actually the 2007. That was 2006 qualification round. This is the 2007 qualification round. You'll never guess what 2008 was. I still might, and I've been arguing amongst my team when we run a contest at ShmooCon in 2 days in DC. I really want to put blank, blank, blank as an actual question and make people, we'll give them the right number of underscores to give it. If they have ever played the Defcon CTF, they will instantly know.
It's blank to my firewall.
Blank to my word.
Blank to my firewall. You know the bow to my firewall? Google bow to my firewall.
Bow to my firewall.
It's a Bruce Potter scream.
Oh, yeah, Potter. Yeah, if it's a Shmoo reference, yeah, that's true. No. Yeah, that's the one where he's yelling out. There's just an audio. Is it video too? Or? That's actually, see, that would be more appropriate to Shmoo. We should do that. The other one is, if you guys seen, there's a video of the Tracer T kid. Google, it's Tracer T. It's this neat tool built into Windows that lets you see what people are looking at Google. It's amazing. The joke is it's a traceroute command which shows the hops on the internet between you and Google and the time for the packets to be returned between you and them. The kid's making it sound like he's looking at other IPs that are watching Google. I hope it's a joke. I feel bad for the kid if not, because it's really, really stinking funny. And these are on the shared server farm because the last octet in the IP is different, which is the server port number. It's like making up stuff, and it gets more and more embarrassing. But he's like 12, so it's okay. So game mechanics, I actually already kind of covered a lot of. So I mentioned there's the qualifying round, there's the final round. The qualifying round, it says 200 teams. There's 8 to 10 teams kind of at the big table at DEF CON. If you go to DEF CON, which everybody should at least once, it's a circus, but it's a lot of fun too. You can actually walk through, and I like what they do with the DEF CON CTF Live because they have videos and the scoreboard and all the teams are hacking, and they will shoo you away from their tables because they're very protective, and people absolutely do spend spies. And yeah, we paid a girl to distract one team once, and she was just being really, because she was really annoying to us, and we're like, we'll give you $10 to be annoying to them instead. And so she did, and she was a little drunk too. But so the teams are very protective. You have to have your physical security. Here's the actual scoreboard for the qualification round. These are the questions that were unlocked. The qualification round's crazy. It runs for 48 straight hours basically. They start a Friday evening and they end a Sunday. And that's some teams sleep and some teams don't. And you can tell in the dips and scores when people are sleeping or hitting a hard problem. So they've got Pursuits Trivial, just trivia questions, Crypto Madness, Packet Madness, Binary Eliteness, Potent Potables, and Forensics. This lied, actually, I think, if memory serves, one of the cryptos was actually a packet capture. The Packet Madness, the categories are kind of arbitrary and they sort of fit them in, so it doesn't necessarily, but it does give you a general idea of some of the skill sets. If you've done any kind of forensics, if you know anything about cryptography, if you know anything about sort of reverse engineering binary formats, if you know how to look at Potent Potables remote exploitation. One thing that this Defcon CTF doesn't do very much of is web security, which makes me sad because I like it, but that's just the people running it, and they're they're like the binary ninjas that poo-poo on web security, and so they get to play the game the way they want. Hopefully, there are some great challenges online though that do that. So the big show, the main events, I already talked a lot about. You have 8 to 10 teams set up. You're live attacking server on server. You're defending. You're monitoring the network. You've got flags, right? And the flags can be different depending on the game. So tonight you had a fixed key. It was a 6-digit key, and once you had the flag, you had the points. The same flag would work for somebody else, right? In the Defcon CTF, and this is part of the reason why the infrastructure is so difficult to set up, is because they're live dynamically updating these flags, right? So if I break into your server and steal a key, 1 minute later that key is different. Now the advantage to that is, if I can continuously exploit you over time, I can get more keys. So the earlier I break into your system and the more constantly I'm breaking into your system, the more keys I'm going to get. So it's an interesting metric, but it's a lot harder to implement because you have to have some sort of virtualization infrastructure, something from outside the VM pushing in keys, because otherwise, if it's in the VM, I'll just break my VM's key generation so no one can steal keys from me. So it's a lot more trouble to kind of set up and to figure out. The other thing they do have to do is track where keys came from, because I can't be able to submit my own keys. I've got my own virtual machine. I can steal my key and submit to myself, and how does that? So it's a real hassle to kind of figure out how to do that. Some keys are read keys, some keys are write keys, which is one of the nice features. With the CTF here, usually when you wrote something, you use that to get access to something else, which then give you a key to submit. At Defcon, you can actually you have a master key you can overwrite on top of a key, and then you get points for overwriting the key too. And so they will check that the overwrite, and then they have to put the other key back really fast. And so that, again, part of the infrastructure. So roles, very important to have distinguished roles for a team. I mentioned our team claims we won not because we were the best or the brightest or the fastest, but because we were good at all the areas, and we worked really well as a team. We communicated really well. Our team captain was Atlas, was his handle, and he actually won the 2005 sort of solo kind of competition. And he has a great talk you can pull up in the archives in Defcon where he talks about, he knew nothing about security. He was a developer, working at a kind of crappy company at the time, actually doing not much fun stuff, not doing security a whole lot, who did the qualifying round, decided he was kind of interested and wanted to learn it, taught himself sort of binary exploitation, just threw himself into it. And so he has a talk where he says, this is how I went from noob to elite hacker in 3 sleepless nights, which was an exaggeration. It was a little more than that, but true in the sense that he really transformed his knowledge. I mean, this is, if you are interested in this, if you put the time into it, anybody can really be one of the people competing and leading teams. I mean, literally, that's exactly what his talk is about. So you can go to the Defcon archives and pull up his talk to read it. He did a phenomenal job leading the team. He's extremely good and technical and able to do any of the exploitation, but a lot of his cycles were spent organizing the team, making sure everybody was on the same page, working together, effectively using the time. And again, I attribute our success to his sort of structure and the team working together. One of the things that often doesn't get emphasized is that you do need every sort of role kind of filled. You need all sorts of abilities. The network administrator, the guy that sets up your infrastructure, the guy that's monitoring your network, it's the dog's nose because he's sniffing. He's monitoring the network. If you've got guys that are used to watching IDS logs, firewall logs, looking through packet captures, analyzing things, that's a very crucial role for this kind of live sort of CTF and how you actually play it. You have to have that skill set to be good as a team. When someone throws an exploit at you, when somebody breaks into your server, you need to know it. You need to know it not only because your server admin is monitoring it, hopefully figuring it out, but also because your network administrator detects it, can pull it out, send it over to the exploiters. They can figure out how the exploit works, turn it around, wrap it up, and send it out to other people. That was another thing that our team did very, very well, is we turned exploits around very quickly. We weren't necessarily the first team to break into something, but we were often the second, right? And so that if we were the second more often than not, and everybody else was first randomly at different times because they were focusing on different services, then overall we did better. So that was another reason that we were kind of successful. Reversing an exploitation. I didn't Google image search exploitation. I thought maybe we would not have that, what images would come up for that on the slide, so it's blank. But this is sort of the meat and potatoes. The main skill set really is taking a binary, making an exploit from it. And for all the other skills, if you don't have this, you can't play. And this is the one downside to Defcon CTF, is it's not very friendly. You don't have, if you don't have the skill set, which is kind of hard to acquire on your own, follow Atlas's talk, spend a lot of time, do a lot of the challenges. I've got some links later on if you're really interested in this. And it can be a very cool career, and there's a lot of fun stuff you can do with it. But at the same time, it's sort of hard just to come up with it kind of on your own. But you have to have somebody that can do this reverse engineering analysis of a binary exploitation. I did mention the sysadmin already. If you really do need somebody really good to keep all your services running, who's familiar with a variety of OSs. 2006 was running on Solaris. Like out of the blue, they're like, hey, guess what? You've got Solaris this year instead of the FreeBSD that they usually ran. And so, great, we had to work into Zone in Solaris and figure that out. And it mostly is the same. It's Unixy, right? But it's also got some quirks. And so, you definitely need to have somebody who's really good with just kind of keeping things going. The Defender is related to the sysadmin, but is specifically on the specific services. How do we fix and patch a service, for example? How do we defend it? Can we change the permissions? Do we check and make sure that not only is the system just up and running and going, which is the sysadmin's job, because usually your SLA is a multiplier of your score, but this is the guy whose sole job is to understand the exploits and understand how to fix them. So he works with the sysadmin, and he works with the exploiters. When they figure out an exploit, it's his job to sort of fix it in the binary, to patch it, to try to get your own copy secure, defend it maybe some other way. Maybe he'll write a socket proxy so that he moves that binary to a different port or to a loopback interface so it's running locally, sets up a socket bounce so any traffic goes through his cleaner, or sets up an inline IPS or something like that where he can filter out some sort of attacks, right? There's a lot of approaches you can do and things to sort of help you in the game.